Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
How you think you are. 27 days to radically shift your thinking and upgrade your life. More wealth, health, love, and joy.
Your course is the first course that I don't mind repeating again and again and again.
Click on the link for the special offer or visit the website at www.arvettemclean.com. Greeting and welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. Today's topic is the matter of the mind. And I have Deborah joining me. How are you, Deborah?
Hi, Arvette. I'm great. Hi, everybody. How are you, Arvette?
I'm great too. And I hope everyone out there is great as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about the brain today because we talk so much about, I guess, the effects. And a lot of times people can think that the things that we talk about sound kind of woo-woo or, kind of like out of this world or something like this, like, can it be real? And I think people in my generation and older in particular, we really think of this kind of thing as woo-woo because in our day, it wasn't a lot of scientific research on these things. So you almost had to accept it only because you've experienced it. And I've always been a really analytical, scientific person. And so I couldn't accept things, I needed the scientific proof. And if you didn't have the proof, then it just didn't make any sense for me until I started experiencing things. And then I was like, you know what? I know it's real because this is what just happened here. However, nowadays, there are thousands and thousands of research studies done in the whole field that's been called metaphysics for a while. And it's easy. I think one of the easy places to do research is with the brain.
Yeah. I agree on that. It is. It has been for a while now. And I agree with you. Like it's getting more attention. It's getting more research. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And one of the things is I always talk about thoughts produce things.
Yes.
And so in that, one thing that's implied but that isn't really said is that our mind actually creates our brain. Now, for so long, we've always thought it to be the opposite, like our brain controls our thinking, but our thinking controls our brain. And so that is one of the, I don't know how many years now, but that's kind of fairly new in science to realize that our thoughts control our brain, that our brain is just an organ. And so we're changing our brain in every moment with every thought that we have. And so the whole field of neuroplasticity, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying that word right, but but the whole
No, it sounds right.
Look, now I'm not gonna say it right. Neuroplasticity. But at any rate, whatever we think, every time we think, we're creating neurons in our brains. And so let's say if I were to study something for a whole hour, I will almost double the number of neurons that I have in my brain just from studying for an hour. But the thing is with neuroplastics, I'm gonna just say neuroplastics. I can say that. With neuroplastics, what they found is if you don't use it, you lose it. So a lot of times, as soon as we read it, we forget it within the next 15 minutes, it's gone. We don't use it ever again. And so then those neurons disintegrate. And so, but if you continue to use whatever that information is, and the more you use any part of your brain, the more mass that part of the brain gains. And so it's literally our thoughts that's creating our brains.
Yeah, that's such an interesting concept. But more true, the more studies that are being brought forth, the more experiments, and you can even try that experiment on your own. Look around you and kind of look at all of the things that are in your environment, or maybe just even close to you. Your brain, your mind has created those things, because as you said, the plasticity from doing things over and over, repetition. So you're explaining that the mind has created the brain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the mind is in charge. The mind is responsible for creating all of the things around you.
Yeah.
So what is your experience with that? Because you mentioned that did you mention that you have like witnessed, your mind creating things?
Yeah. I would have so many stories. I wouldn't even. Well, I've shared a lot of them over the course of the past 3 years on the podcast. But yeah, so many stories of me witnessing. But at the earliest age that I can remember is, I think I might have been in kindergarten, but I was like, young. And I remember my next door neighbor saying, "Let's not go to school tomorrow. Let's pretend like we're sick." And so I was like, okay. And so I literally, all night I was thinking, I'm gonna pretend like I'm sick. I'm gonna pretend like I'm sick. I'm gonna pretend like I'm sick. And so the next morning, I was sick. I had a fever. My mom was like, "Oh, you can't go to school today." Or I remember it was this mean boy on the bus, and he would just be mean every day. And I was just like, I hope he breaks his leg. And then he came back to school the next day with a broken leg. And I was like,
wow.
And so when I was young, I used to have those types of experiences all the time. And I would realize that I need to be very careful about what I was thinking, because it would happen. And so, but as I got older, I kind of got educated away from that whole thing. And then I just was thinking, oh, it's coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like I just kind of just dropped it. And if there wasn't a scientific reason, if I couldn't figure out a scientific reason for it, then it was just that I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't that it was anything, supernatural going on or whatever. And so it wasn't until, I can't even put the year. I think it might have been like, maybe like 2001, 2002, when it all started coming back full circle, and I started remembering, wow, this used to happen to me all the time. And I started allowing that window to open and expand. And so, it's kind of like when you give yourself permission to see these things, to be a witness of it, then it starts to happen, and it starts to happen more and more and more.
Yeah, exactly. I think some of my experience is a little similar. and that unfortunately for a long time when I was younger, and it still happens to me now on occasion, I would think of something, I would look at a situation and think of the outcome negatively, but I learned it's only as a defense, so that if that whatever I thought of as the worst case scenario, I already thought of it, so I was already
Mhm.
prepared. So the blow doesn't hurt as bad, the blow doesn't hit as hard. But it would happen all the time, and I wasn't understanding that my negative outlook on a situation was only going to occur because I was looking at it negatively, or I was thinking it. I was putting it out there. I was creating it.
Yeah.
My mind created it.
And I
So
think it,
now,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, so now, the the thing that I do to utilize that in a more positive way, because the um, the tendency is always to kind of prepare, or at least think that it's not going to go well, so that when it doesn't go well I don't feel as bad. But
Mhm.
I try to catch myself and, like, oh, you're thinking about it that way, and that's going to be the outcome, so let's turn it around and think about what you really would like the outcome to be, which is typically something more positive and exciting and you know um, optimistic. So I just have to switch it and realize that my mind will create what it thinks. So yeah,
Yeah.
good or bad. And
Yeah.
then I have to own it too. So when it happens, I can't blame anybody else because I thought of it. It's nobody else's fault, but it's mine because of what I created. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so interesting how like we interact with our environment in invisible ways. Like we don't see how our thoughts could affect the environment. But in the same way that our thoughts create our brain, it's like our thoughts are a energy field. The mind is like an energy field. And so
right.
we think that the body produces the energy field, but
Hmm.
really it's the energy field that produces the body. And so that's like
Mm,
something that's a new understanding in science now, that it's the energy field that's producing the body, which is why I talk so much about having a high vibration, keeping your vibration high. And that's what's going to
yeah.
cause your body, your physical body to change. Um, so in when we were in elementary school, I believe we did experiments with like magnets and iron filings or something. I don't know if you got, did you do that experiment where you put like um iron shavings on a piece of paper and then you have a magnet underneath it, and then the
Yeah.
magnet, the iron will like form a design. Have you
Right.
seen that before?
So I used to have a little game. It was like a picture of a bald guy, and then the iron shavings were dark pieces, and you could take the magnet and make the iron sheddings go over his bald head and give him hair, or you can put it over his and put it here. So it was something similar to your experiment, but it was like a game created for kids at that time.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Hmm.
So go
Yeah,
ahead. What
so
were you
so
saying?
basically that magnetic field, you can see it. You can see how it causes the the material, the matter to take shape.
Right.
And that's
Yep.
what our energetic fields do. We have an electromagnetic field around us, and it causes matter to take shape. And
Mhm.
so we want to be very conscious about what is in our electromagnetic field. And our field, as we all know, if you know what EEG machines are, where they measure brain waves and things like that. And so they don't have to put the equipment on your brain. They can put it like this close and it can measure your brain waves because our waves are radiating out, they're like transmitting out into the universe, and also receivers. And so brains receive information from each other. So even
Mhm.
though even though
Mhm.
we might not be saying things, we we can feel, we can intuitively know what's going on with that other person if we take the time to feel it.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Yes.
And then um that kind of connects with, like you said, the energy that's out there, um that we're emitting. um we have a sense of control over it, what we release out there and what we accept from outside in as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um what about the we may have spoke on this before, but so if we're understanding that our mind creates our brain, um do we talk about the separation between we are not our minds? Like there's a higher um, energy level that we're a part of, that we don't allow our mind to control us. We control the mind, right? So the mind being separate from the brain, and the mind also being separate from our higher self or our higher power.
Right. So I don't know if the mind is like the mind is part of your higher self. It's part of the non-local mind. And it's just because we're not listening to we're not in tune with our higher self, but it's still a part of it. So I don't,
Okay.
but I know what you're saying, like, because you
Yeah.
can kind of be a witness to what your thoughts are. And so it's
Okay,
like,
that's what it is.
who is
Mhm.
witnessing
Mhm.
who is
Yes.
witnessing this thought, you know?
Right.
So I know what you're saying about the different levels. Yes.
Okay. So I had the vernacular wrong. We are not our thoughts. Right. So we are the mind, or we're control of the mind, but we are not our thoughts. The thoughts that come and go, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It can all be a little um it's very intricate, because it definitely seems like your brain, your mind, your thoughts, all one thing.
Mhm.
But as you mentioned, the different studies shown the energy field is separate. Um, the mind is creating the brain. The mind is creating everything we see around us,
Yeah.
created by our mind.
Yeah. And so, but you were making a point earlier about us controlling our thoughts. And that's an interesting topic because 95% of our thoughts are in the subconscious mind, and only 5% of our thoughts are in our conscious mind or our creative mind. And so, with that being the case, if it's in your subconscious mind, you kind of don't even know it's there. You don't know what it's doing, and the subconscious mind is a program. And so, basically, from before you were even born, like the last 3 months in the tummy until like about the age of 6 or 7, you are basically in a brain state of either delta or theta. And in those states, you're just downloading information. So it's like your inner world is what's, I guess, most active, so to speak, as compared to your outer world. Like, you're not in a space where you're like analyzing and breaking things down and stuff like that. You accept whatever comes in as real. And so, and that's kind of the reason why kids they can learn like 3 or 4 languages at a time, because
Mhm.
they're just accepting the program. But once
Right.
you get to be like 7 to 12, you go into another phase called the alpha state. And then
Mhm.
from 12 on up, you're pretty much living in the beta state. But going back to the subconscious mind, because most of what we're doing is controlled by the subconscious mind. So we're like, we could be thinking like, well, I was thinking good thoughts, but I'm not having good results. So this doesn't work. But that's because the subconscious mind is running its own program.
Oh.
And so in order to change the subconscious mind's program, because most of the time, like I said, you don't even know what it is. And the only reason you know what it is because you can see what's being produced in your life. So you can kind of, it's a perfect match. So you can kind of guess, you know, what it is. But the ways to change your subconscious mind include hypnosis, which is what the state of the brain that kids are in from ages 0 to 6 or 7. And the brain is in the delta or theta range. And so that's why they're able to just accept programs. And so that's what hypnosis does. It gets your brain into that wave, because our brain, you know, is measured in frequencies and brain waves. And
Right.
so that's one way. The second way is one that we talk about a lot, which is just repetition. So if you just repeatedly put in the same information over and over again, which is what we've been doing for the past 3 years. We've been repeating the same thing over and over again, because I know from experience that I've had to hear the same thing over and over and over again before I started making changes. And so repetition will kind of put a new program in place. And then the third thing is what we talk about too is energy psychology, which is really being aware of your energy field and influencing it. So those are like the 3 ways. And so as far as trying to change your brain wave, because like I said, we're always in beta, and you can be in different levels of beta. Like high beta will have you stressed, stressed or whatever. But it's your analytical mind. You're basically using your left brain. And so you want to find ways to bring your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere together to have a more holistic approach and outlook on life. And that's what changes things for you very quickly.
Yeah. I have heard of that before, particularly the stages of the child kind of being in hypnosis stage. Yeah. And that's the most crucial time, because that's when they're pretty much identifying or being molded to what their mindset's going to be like after age 7 moving on. So that is a critical time, because they're in a stage where they can be molded in a certain direction and keep that with them for the lifetime. So, but it is good to know, like you said, that through repetition you can kind of reshape it. If there's something that you kind of were hypnotized into that was incorrect or incorrect ways of thinking. So that is nice to know for sure.
Yeah.
But mind body, very complex, but also it's a beautiful complexity, you know, and very powerful.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. And then a lot of the ways that you can change your brain wave we talked about, which includes meditation.
Yes.
You know, because when you're meditating, one of the things you do is you close your eyes, and that shuts out everything in your external environment. So like 80% of what you see, and it allows your neocortex, or the active brain, to just relax itself. So you can start, you know, moving into alpha state. So we can cause ourselves to move into alpha state, which is a state where we can more easily program the mind or reprogram the mind. And so we can do it like with meditation. You can also do it. They have these things, and I've never tried it before. I don't know if you're familiar with the binaural beats?
Oh yeah, binaural beats.
Binaural.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you
Yep,
familiar?
you said it. Yes,
Yeah, have you
I
tried it
am.
before?
I have. Yeah, there you can pull it up on YouTube. Um, there are different apps that you can download that will just have the binaural beats at different frequencies, um, to allow you to slip into that kind of hypnotic or hypnotist mode, but really just to kind of, like you said, control the brain waves to relax them, to de-stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have success with those?
I did. Yeah. I would use them mostly when I was having trouble sleeping. So like my thoughts are racing. My mind was just kind of going and going and going. You know, maybe I didn't have good sleep hygiene. So I talk about I've my idea of a good sleep hygiene is just kind of having a routine, right? You do certain things at certain times, um, leading up to your bedtime. But sometimes I get out of the habit and I'm lying in bed, supposed to be getting ready to go to sleep or on my way to sleep, but I'm on Instagram or I'm on my phone or I'm watching our YouTube videos. So that stimulates my mind. And I would utilize the binaural beats to just kind of have on, maybe have some headsets on, and lying there with the lights off just kind of helps me switch off faster,
Mm-hmm.
because I've stimulated my brain and now I need it to go back the other way.
Yeah.
It's helpful. Have
Yeah.
you used it?
No, I have not. And the from what I can understand is it's different, a different beat slightly in each ear. And so it
Hmm.
stimulates, or I guess destimulates different parts of your brain, but causes them
Yeah.
to kind of synchronize or so.
Yeah. Exactly. The left and right hemispheres of the brain are um, being kind of vibrated, I guess, or yeah, the way the music, or the, just like you mentioned, the tunes are coming in at different frequencies to both. Um, but yeah, some I'm not great at explaining the scientific breakdown, but it seems quite magical how it allows the brain waves to slow down into that space
Hmm.
to relax. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was listening to stuff. I've heard this several times over the years where they say that as you're falling into sleep, that's a good time to listen to tapes, or I'm dating myself when I say tapes,
Right. No,
but
I understand.
that's a good time to listen to whatever,
Recordings.
yeah,
Yeah.
recordings of what you want to go into your mind. That's like almost
Hmm.
the same as like a form of hypnosis. And so you're just reprogramming your mind by having
Hmm.
that thing playing over and over right when you're falling asleep.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
So true.
yeah,
It's perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
love how those things are more accessible to us now.
yeah,
When I was younger, there may have been studies, but you didn't hear about it unless you were in a psychology class, in college. Definitely not in high school. Maybe in high school, but I mean, of course, I'm sure technology plays a big part. All the different platforms, you know, um, that are available to us now. I mean, you can Google anything, you
yes.
can YouTube everything. So that definitely has helped spread the word. And people seem to create apps, you know, like it's not a big deal. It's kind of a snap of a finger. It's like, oh, yeah. So I really enjoy that those things are accessible to us
Yes.
at the fingertips. It's great.
Hmm. Yeah, and if anybody wants to know more information about like this biological, scientific connection to the woo-woo stuff that we talk about, my favorites are Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dawson Church, and Bruce Lipton. And so they are really great they're all like medical doctors and that type of thing, but they're really great at explaining the connection,
Yes.
how science and metaphysics go hand in hand, and how quantum physics is, the science of metaphysics. It is, the new science, so to speak. So yeah, make sure you check them out. Anything by them will be
Right.
very enlightening.
Agreed. Yes.
All right. So
Well, thank you, Arvet.
yeah, thank you. Always enjoy talking about the more scientific nature of things. Because I forget to talk about it, even though I know that's what would make me go, oh, like in my younger years, that's what I would have needed. And now I forget to even mention it because I'm so living in the space of, I'm experiencing it, and I don't need a definition to go behind it. So I love when I remember to
Right.
hit on the science of it. So yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you guys like the science too, and do definitely check out Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dawson Church, and Bruce Lipton, and it's just tons of information. And they make the connection really, really well and really easy for us all to comprehend. So thank you
Absolutely.
for joining me.
Thank you, Arvet. Absolutely. Good to see you all.
All right. All right, guys, until next time. But please remember to check out my website at arvetmclean.com and click the like button below. And remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. So until next time.
Until
Bye.
next time. Bye.